Okay, welcome on to the Orchard podcast. Any announcements that people have today? Any demos?
I have websites, new websites I found on the internet. Let me copy paste. Let me share. Sharing desktop. Random ones I got this week or last week. I can paste them in a chat room. Here. So this one. Nice. I don't know what it is, but company. Insurance company for motorcycle, French website. Nice too. JavaScript framework. Nice website. We don't usually see frameworks on Orchard. I like it. Let me check if it's even this page. Yes, even this page is. No. But Orchard. Maybe.
You're showing us a site that is not Orchard.
Well, it was Orchard.
Yeah, and then they walked away in disgust.
No, this is Orchard. Maybe there was a sub page which was not Orchard, or it was maybe something on GitHub. But this page is Orchard. Maybe not everything is Orchard on the website.
Yeah.
This one. Lots of content.
Do you know the people who did JData?
No.
So how do you get wind of the fact that it is or is not
Orchard? I look at the source code and.
No, but how did you find them?
Statistics, web statistics, this one maybe from W3Text, from the statistics on all CMSs and things like that. There are websites for that. This one is from Stanley Goldman, who provided a bunch of patches and pull requests last week and the last weeks. This one too. Oh, what did I do? This one, nice. This one, nice too. So a bunch of websites last weekend. Boom. No, demos. I don't think I could demo some stuff if you want. This week, there's been some progress on the code on specific points. So status about what has been done last week. Let me share back. Last week. So we pushed the 1.6.1 release. I had no feedback on this patch, so I assume everything went well for everyone. I implemented a taxonomy navigation provider. So in the previous taxonomy module, there was a widget, a taxonomy widget or terms widget, where you could create a widget to display specific terms. But now we have a menu widget since 1.6. I've replaced it by a taxonomy navigation provider. So you have a custom taxonomy menu item in the navigation now. I'm sure I can show you. So you can inject any taxonomy terms inside the menu, or create a specific menu with a taxonomy or a part of the taxonomy. It's loading. Then, so some patches from Stanley Goldman for the identity part, for the Orchard, what's the name? Media profiles module. Big change also in the tokens. Big change in a way that there is a new syntax for tokens, but we still are compatible with the previous one, which is in curly braces. But now you can use the hash curly brace syntax, and I can also show it to you. The idea is that if you want to tokenize something which could have C# or JSON or JavaScript, you might find some issues injecting tokens, because those tokens also use curly braces like the JavaScript or whatever is using that. So there will have been conflicts, and sometimes it didn't work at all. So the idea was to introduce a new syntax, more specific one. So whenever you use in a tokenized content the dash curly brace syntax, this will prevail over simple curly braces. Which means if you use this one, it will forget about the other syntax. But if you don't, it will take the other syntax. So in a JavaScript code, just do JavaScript code with code blocks, and inside you can use dash curly brace, and then this will be taken as a token.
So if there is even one of those guys, you're switching modes.
Yes.
Okay.
Which means every previous working tokenized text will still work. And even more, some bugs have been fixed for the previous parser, and this one will also work if you want to use it instead. So it's compatible. I can give you some example, and also I can show you the escaping schemes, because it can be pretty hard sometimes to render exactly what you want. For instance, yesterday I fixed a bug which was someone asking to do something like that in a projection, because the idea is that if you use the content item picker, the IDs will be stored like this. So if you want to do a request which filter a specific content item picker ID, you need to do a request which in the end will have that. So he said, okay, so what I want to do is just that. So I just take the token and I replace it like that. So it should work in the end. It should say field equals this in the SQL and replace this by 1. But it didn't work, because in the previous syntax, doubling the curly brace would instead be the escaping sequence. So in the end, you would have this, exactly this, not replacing content ID. You will have this string, so this will not work. So then I assume that the right solution will have been to triple it, meaning this will be converted to a single one. This will be interpreted as one, and this one converted to a single one. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this wasn't working because there was a bug. So now I fixed it, and now you can use this thing. So this was a bug. So I fixed the bug retrospectively for the standard scheme. But in the new one, it's easier because there is no more conflict. You can just say, okay, here, curly brace, and then dash curly brace content.id. Done. This will be injected as one, and those won't be interpreted. Okay. So now the new syntax is this one. So to render something like this using a token, now you get this one or this one.
Okay.
Okay. And same thing. If you want to render a hash curly brace, then you will do. So if you want to render in the end a string with like this, and don't want it to be interpreted as a token, then you do something like this.
Okay.
I have a lot of unit tests, and they have to be converted into documentation. So this is the token support. I upgraded to nHibernate 3.3.3.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, are these content tokens working in projection filters? Because I specifically opened an issue today, I linked it into the chat, that content tokens, regardless of how they would be evaluated, are wiped out when using a filter. This source, and actually this happens with 1.6 as well.
Okay, I will check the.
So if you write content.id in a projection filter, it just returns blank.
Oh, it's probable because what is the context for the projection? That's the question. If you need to access the currently displayed item on the front end when you do the query, you need a custom token, which will. How will it do it? Maybe using the auto route. I think Sipke did something like that.
I have a custom token for that. I've implemented it, and it's wiped out as well. So that's content.current, I called it, and it's wiped out as well. So everything beginning with content is wiped out. So
it's a useful token. Maybe the naming is not adapted because content not current. I'm not sure. Maybe it should surface the fact that it should be taken from the auto route thing, from the alias. Because that's the only way to figure out which content is currently displayed. On a page, you could display 10 content items, widgets and everything. Even a query is a content item. But maybe what you mean is what is the currently displayed in detail mode? Like which page I am displaying. And this one, even not auto route actually, it's only if you are in the... There are different ways to do that, but maybe just the content items controller with a content display /ID. And it's good because it's transversal and anyone can provide it.
Yeah.
So it could be from the auto route, it could be from the content items, it could be from a blog which has its own controller and provide this. But yeah, it's different. So, or maybe it is different contexts, like one for auto route, one for content item display. But yes, content.id will not work everywhere.
Yeah, it's actually something quite curious with Projector, because the context is set in Projector part driver. But so actually, by accessing contents, you should be able to access the projection itself.
Yes.
But somehow it's not working, so that's strange.
Because maybe it's not set. Driver, projection, part driver. Where is it again? Part content item. Yes.
So there is on line 138. First. Yeah, there is a context thing.
There are different levels of replacement. The query itself and in the layout and the sub-items. So the layout itself and the sub-items for the layout. So, but it's the same content item which is given. There should be a value, which should be the query itself. Well, I look at your bug.
Right.
So then some contribution from Sipke. And then I did a signal activity. So the idea is that in the workflow there is now a new signal activity, or actually a set of features based on signals. A signal being, like in the cache, just a named event. So let me show you. It's very nice. So in the workflow module.
Is it actually a signal in the same sense?
Not the cache signal, just different one, but the same ID. Because triggering things, because it's not about invalidating cache. There could be one.
Does iSignal specialized for cache,
or
are we just only using it for it? But I mean, isn't it hooked
caching.
to the
Caching.
event?
Caching, high volatile provider.
It is in our chart caching, yes.
Yeah. So, orgasm from Nick. So create a new workflow, tests. So the idea is that you make a workflow which can be triggered by anything. For instance, so here I'm saying, okay, this is a signal. The signal suspends the workflow until this signal is specifically triggered. So I can say this is a start event for my workflow, and the signal name will be foo. Okay. It just says it will just wait until a signal named foo is triggered somewhere in the application. And I could say whatever, delete, whatever you want. It's another action. And how to trigger those ones? There are multiple ways of doing it. The one that is implemented right now is using trigger. So in another workflow, you could execute this activity, which is a task, the trigger activity, where you say, okay, first I need to save. It will show you all the available signals in the application. So if I save, it will find foo. So you can say, oh, I can trigger foo if you want. Okay, trigger foo someday. And this can be triggered by anything. The idea being that it can be triggered, it can be done by a schedule. So we could create, you remember the scheduler module, which is on a gallery done by Brendan Carey last summer using the rules module. So I will duplicate it, and I talk with him to create it in workflows. So this was part of the idea to make the signal like that.
Just a small detail. I don't really like that it's using a drop-down to choose the signal, because it means that you need the signal to pre-exist.
Yes, I also figured it out when I used it, because you see like on this example, it's not there.
Exactly.
And maybe you want to use a token and everything. So
it can be a different person completely that implements both.
Well, it's showing everything from every workflow.
Right, but it needs to pre-exist.
Yes, true. So I agree. Let's change it. And actually there is nothing to do, just removing a drop down and adding a text box. So okay. So the trigger will be used by
the drop down could still be there, but be used as a suggestion thing.
So then autocomplete.
Yeah.
So the trigger can trigger a signal, but you can trigger a signal from anything. So the idea was to have a scheduler, like in the Orchard 17.16 on the gallery scheduler module. You define every Wednesday at 10 a.m. trigger the signal name foo, and this workflow will be executed. Okay. Or it can be from the scheduler and something else, the same signal. But I made it specifically for C because changes who added web request and callback event, but which has been changed to web request and just signal trigger. The idea is that in a workflow, let's say, for instance, let me show you the idea of a workflow. I already discussed it a while back. The idea is that let's say you have a media, okay, a media content item which is created. What you will do is when content is published, for instance, or maybe let's say a content is created, okay, and you will say it's starting a workflow, and I will say when an image or video, it's not showing the media, I have to change it. So let's say a video is created. What you will do is, for instance, web request. So go web request, and the web request will go to some cloud services like, is it Zen Coder? Yes, you say this service, for instance, is a cloud service for live and file encoding. So the idea is that there is an API with this service that you can call to process media files like videos, converting them to iPad versions or every MP4 translation you can find. And what you just do is something like that. So zencoder.com/API/whatever, I don't even know what it is, but you enter the URL to ping, like doing a post and adding those headers using the tokens or adding those properties, and you save, okay? And the idea is that, okay, when a media is created, just send a request to Zencoder, my API access, API key, to process this file and generate everything. And what it will do is in the web request, you will actually somewhere say callback equals, and then you will give a URL, a local URL like, I'm faking it like foo.com/callback, and say, okay, when you're done with your job, call me back on this URL, I will do something else. And this thing should be somewhere in your workflow. So you can say, okay, now I am waiting for something to happen. And this something will actually be a signal. Okay, and you can call it media ready. Trigger this signal and go on with the workflow like, okay, now you can publish the content item because the media has been processed and everything is ready. You can publish it now. They are available somewhere, or update the values with custom locations based on the signal which was called. So it will publish the content. And now the idea is that, okay, you can create a request to the service provider and tell the service provider what to call back, so the callback, which will trigger a signal. And to do that, there is a specific controller with the signal which will just do that. So from an external point of view, from an external service, you can access a specific controller and trigger a signal. So it's a token and it's called workflow.
By the way, there is a bug on the screen with the.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you. Signal media item. I don't know. Media created. Media ready. No, what did I need? What did I call it?
Does Drupal have anything like this?
I don't know. Media ready. So here you could say workflow signal media ready. This thing will render a URL. I'm not sure about the name of the token. I have to check. So let's say it's workflow signal media ready or workflow web callback, something like that, which will actually render a URL containing the name of the signal to trigger. Okay. And so you can inject it into the header so that the service knows which URL to call back. And when it's done, it will call it back and continue resume your workflow or start a new workflow based on this signal. Okay, so now you can have long-running workflow between different websites. It's a very interesting scenario.
So Sebastian, so in this case, when you trigger the signal, the context of a content item that triggered it is lost?
No, it's there. It's there because when you render this URL with the signal workflow, it contains two things. The content item in question that you want to resume the workflow on, so the subject of the workflow, and the the signal ID, the signal name.
Yeah, but in case you use the trigger action and you, for example, do something and trigger some action, and then another workflow gets jumps in and starts processing. So in that another workflow, you don't have the context of the previous one that triggered.
It's also saved with all workflows. A workflow context itself has a content item, and this signal also has a content item. So it will depend on what you want to do with what. So every workflow context is associated to a content item. And this callback also has a content item ID. So you can do whatever you want.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so you can reuse the one which is triggered by the signal, or we associate it with the current workflow context. There are two different things.
Any security?
No, because I thought about that. So the rendered URL is using a nonce, like we do for email validation or for comments action in the emails. So the idea is that the URL will be something like a fully qualified URL with .com/nonce equals, and it's a base 64 encrypted value containing both the signal and the ID. And if it can't decrypt it, it means it has been altered some way, so it won't even trigger the thing. So you're safe giving it.
Yeah, view state.
What?
Yeah, view state.
Yes, view state. It's a nonce. We have an API for that in our chart, so let's use it. It's encrypted using the private key that you have in Orchard. So it is very nice. So for instance, you could even say whatever service that can trigger a web request, you can plug it to your workflow. For instance, GitHub, Codeplex, Bitbucket, whenever you commit something, you can tell it to call a web request, and it will do. So you can point it to your Orchard, and you could run a workflow whenever some code is committed to your repository or whatever. And you can also send web requests by yourself. So whenever you do something, you could ping someone.
And the web request is doing posts with
everything,
potentially complex payloads.
It's tokenized, so it's whatever you want.
Yeah.
Any verb, and so Sipke did this part, headers and form values, and it can be whatever you want. And you can also say it's a key value format or a JSON format so you could send something like that.
Very nice.
You see?
You could probably, with a lot of effort, you could probably actually, interact with payment gateways or shipping APIs.
Yeah, I let you do that. But this is an abstract one. What you would do for, in your case, maybe more specific tasks for that, like for Stripe, for instance.
You forgot a pound here.
A pound? Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, good. In this case, right. Thank you. But I think
so this web request is the one way, right? So there isn't something like an event that external.
Yes, there is. He describes it. It's just it's single use.
Okay. The last 10 minutes I just spoke about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Pay attention, damn it.
Yeah. I'm paying attention, but it just okay.
Well, so it means I was not clear enough. I should really show you some examples next time, and let me show services, or is it in tokens? Tokens. So the actual token is this one, trigger URL. Okay, so it is workflow trigger URL and then the text to trigger. You see trigger URL signal, and what it will do, it will create it will call Orchard workflow signal trigger nonce equal, and you see here this is the create nonce with the content item and token. So it will work. It's very nice.
That can't have any parameters.
The nonce.
The service that you call
can
call you back, but it can't give you back any data.
No, what it can
can't give you, for example, a token.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, it will. So the idea is that
because this is very important. Let's say that you wanted. That would be kind of delirious, but let's say you wanted to interact with the payment gateway. You would send in some data about the customer, and they would send you back a token.
Here.
And then you use that token to actually do
So what we do when it's called back, Okay, we reassign the content item tokens, and we also copy the query string and the form values to the tokens, so you can reuse them in the tokens.
Very nice.
So Sipke.
Okay, but the whole workflow with the triggering external service needs to be started by us, right? So it's
no.
I'm thinking about, for example, something like Bitbucket, right? When you commit something, it just calls something.
Oh, I see what he means. If you wanted to monitor a repository, for example, and trigger a workflow to start from an action from an external,
exactly that.
Well, you would have to develop your own controller
Why?
action for that, I suppose.
Why?
No?
Why? You just need so right today it's an API, but why not making a UI which will create a URL for you, and you give this URL to the service. You don't need to create a workflow to get the token value. You know what I mean? So you just create a workflow with, replace that, okay. You just create this thing, you start with the signal. The idea is that how do you trigger the signal from external? You need the URL. So to get the URL right now, you will need to execute some code. Maybe we need a command for that, which will render the URL based on a signal and not based on a running workflow.
Yeah.
So you just need the URL to trigger this signal. That's it. So a good idea. Let's make a command for that, because you might want to generate any URL with a signal named. So let's create a command. Can you file a bug, please, Piotr?
Okay, sure.
Create a command to render a URL that you can call back without using the token.
Yeah, maybe we could, for example, in the signal event itself, we could have a checkbox to say that, for example, render it as a URL. So
when you edit and you have this, you can have a link saying, okay, give me the URL for this thing. Yeah, maybe, but no, it's hard because here it's a JavaScript thing. I'm not sure it will work. Well, let's create a command. It's very easy, and at least we will need a command.
So, a question on the callback and the query string and form. How would you use those? The query string and form?
It's in the token context now. So, a good question.
So you could have an activity that has parameters that are token based, and that would.
Yes, that's the goal. Yeah. But when I look again at this code, I'm not sure it's correct. There should be. No, it's wrong. It needs some more code, because we need a container for that, like the workflow context dot values maybe, or callback dot values, something like that. Yeah. Because we need a container, a main object container.
Yeah, this wasn't done.
So let's do that. It's very easy, but yeah, it needs some little more code. Yeah. But I like it.
Very cool.
Then, so you see, guys, if you want some ideas to do very nice things, just ask. I will give you some ideas. Sipke didn't know what to do. Yeah, let's do that. Great. I'm sure it's very useful for anyone. Then this one, then fix the jQuery CDN resources. So if you were using, well, the jQuery CDN was not accurate with the debug versions. See. Then I added some extension methods to eager load repositories. Example, content definition manager. So it's no more, well, there is still the aggregate attribute to make it declaratively, but you can also do it programmatively. Example, when now we load the content type definitions, well, actually, we don't load anymore one content type definition. We load content type definitions, every one of them. And when we say that, we say load the also load the content type par definition records associated, and then the content par definition record associated. So it's doing a one-to-many-to-one request in one request. Okay, and there is another one here to load the content parts. So now whenever you will start Orchard, it will load the content definitions in 2 queries, not one for SQL performance reasons. And in Orchard v2, it will still be only 1 query because it will be 1 document with all the metadata. So the idea is now on a table from a repository, you can do fetch many, which will eager load a relationship, which if it's a many, or fetch if it's a 2-1 relationship. Okay, so this optimizes quite a lot the performance, as requested by our benevolent dictator. Eager loading, and then I used it for workflow definition records. Actually, I used the aggregate property. I hit some logs. I fixed SQL queries when they were containing dashes. The rendered SQL was wrong. Updating dependencies.
Sebastian, do an update. I pushed a change about that database.
I don't know how to say that.
No, you've already seen that.
Where is the fixed? No, I haven't seen that. You should push your forks and let me review it.
You reviewed it.
I'm not sure. Fixing type 1 format, yeah, this thing. Then, yeah, and maybe talk about that. Localized widgets display role. I thought there was something else important. Oh, that must be it. So maybe we need to open a discussion about the localization and widgets. So now it's fixed like this. So you see, I'm running the French. This is when this is appearing. So there was a bug, which was that if you add the localization part to a HTML widget, then you will not see the widget unless you have provided a localization to the widgets. The idea is that when you add the part, the default value for the main content item will be null as the culture. And the widget filter was just checking, okay, you have the part, but your culture is not the one that we are displaying, so I don't display you. So then all the HTML widgets will disappear. So the idea was to create a localization, a translation for a content item. And by creating a translation, it will actually assign the default culture to the main item and the new translation culture to the new item. So removing the null value and setting into English US, for instance, here. And then they will appear again. This is an issue because just adding a localization part will lose all your content. So now the behavior is fixed, and the behavior is that if you have not provided a localization, a translation for a content item, but it has the localization part, it will assume that its localization is the default one. Its local is the default one. So in this case, the English US. And it will adapt. If you change the default one, it will still be the default one. So it has no value, so it will always display if you display the current default culture. Okay. So this way, you can not provide a translation and still have it to be displayed in your UI. Otherwise, you would have had to provide a translation to something to be able to display it in the default language. That's the idea. There was a bug, but for that is fixed. So if you have anything to say about that, or experience something like that, some issues like that.
So the problem here really is between, okay, is this widget the default culture, or should it appear on in any culture? Because you might actually want both behaviors in different cases. In some cases, you want a widget to only appear in the English US version of your site, and in some cases, you would want the widget to appear on all versions. Maybe. It's kind of a question, actually. Is that a reasonable scenario at all?
So here in this case, and it's not doing what I wanted to do actually. So there is a bug in the fix. So this content item is an English one and has a French translation. This one too, French translation. This one has no translation at all. Okay, so its internal culture is null. I'm displaying the English one, which is the default one. Okay. This one is displaying the English, even if it has a FR version. So now if I go to the dashboard and create a new one, in this section, add a new HTML widget, title new widget, English only. Save, and I go to the website. It's displayed. Okay, it has no translation. And if I set the settings to display the French version by default, it's displaying the French here, and it's displaying this one too, because it says I am the default translation.
Right, but if the default culture was English and the current culture was French, what would happen?
It's not displayed because this is why this one below is not.
So is it a scenario that you would want a widget to always be displayed on all cultures? I'm not sure.
But here you have the choice. Because you have never set it, it will always be displayed as a default. And this one, why is this one assigned to English?
Where is it assigned to English? Like where in the UI do you see it assigned? So the site by default has a language. So any new widget by default which should be in that language unless you specify otherwise, right?
And here I don't understand why the other one is not displayed actually.
Yeah, apparently there is an inconsistency here.
Yeah, I have to check the database.
But in general, I would say that from the moment you have a localized site, you wouldn't want the default culture to the content of the default culture to appear anywhere but when the default culture is the active culture.
So let's say null will be neutral, which means I'm universal. I'm for everything.
What I'm questioning is the usefulness of having neutral content.
Yeah, I think it's needed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you why. There's a potential client that we're looking at, and they have 3 different language sites, and some of their content, which they did not translate, will still show up in the template.
And let's for instance have a image widget.
Okay. Well, then it seems like you need an additional program in the localization.
No, I don't think so. Maybe we could, when we display the drop-down. Right now, the current language is displayed as nothing. Maybe no, we should still display the current language and let people choose between the current, another one, or nothing, which will mean neutral. And not display nothing, but display a text saying neutral.
How do other frameworks leverage that, i.e. Drupal, for example?
ID.
We should look into it so that we, use a convention that people may be familiar with. I'm not saying we shouldn't improve on it, but
So today, because you see, if I go to the dashboard and I say new translation, here, this is the nothing variation of new widget, and I can save it like that. Okay, it will still keep null into database, or I can say English, because right now I'm in French setting by default. The default is French, that's why it's showing English. So that's why I say we should still show no, because this one.
Sebastian?
Yep.
What happens if you want to be able to display that image widget across multiples? Meaning,
yeah, I agree. I'm just thinking
but
about
right now it's a drop down, is what I'm saying. So it only gives you a default or other language versus default or maybe not default, but multiple languages and not the default.
So what I'm suggesting is that we have a third value. First, we show every possible potential language on the websites, French and English in this case, and we have the third value, which currently is empty. We call it neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if we had this change, when you do new translation, by default it will be neutral, but we will also see English and French. So you can be explicit on what you want. I want for everything, for English or for French, unless it's already existing in another content item, and then we don't display it.
Yeah, that works. It is actually the same thing as an additional Boolean property.
Yes,
but integrated into that that drop down.
So we don't need to change the UI and the database and.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
But it should be multi-select.
No.
Why not?
Again, what you mean?
You have 3 languages in default, but you want it to display in 2 of those 3 languages, but not the default or the third. Yes, you should be able to.
Oh. Seriously, do you think the combinatorials associated with that are reasonable?
Sure. Why not?
Because it's going to be extremely
There's not just English and
UI.
French.
It's going to be extremely complicated UI.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You have to just make the UI. It shouldn't be. If you need.
Think about the fallback and all the.
No, I think you can do it today. What's the issue? So today, with the solution we suggest, it's okay. Let's say you have 3 languages: Spanish, English, French. So you want to display something just in Spanish and English, not in French.
Mm-hmm.
So you create your content item, you assign it to English or Spanish as you want. You create a new translation on the other one, let's say English, and you don't create one for French. Done.
But if you do create one for French,
then it will be displayed for the French only.
I find it very confusing.
But maybe Ilan's scenario was about the same content item for multiple, and this we don't handle today.
Yeah, I think that's what he was suggesting. But instead of having a drop down here, you have checkboxes.
Yeah, no, this one we don't handle.
It doesn't have to be checkboxes. It could be very similar to what we did with taxonomies. I'm not saying to use taxonomies.
Yeah.
But where you auto suggest or autocomplete or.
I'm talking about checkboxes for the semantic. It doesn't have to be checkboxes. It has to have the semantics of checkboxes.
Correct, but that makes a big difference from a UI perspective in making it clear.
Yeah, but the database doesn't handle that today. The database can only have one value. And all the code we wrote can only have also one value. And for filter, it's also important to have only one value.
Now, to make it truly flexible, I think that's what's missing.
But the workaround here is to say to people, copy your content in both languages.
So how do we? I'm not saying this has to be done in this iteration, but how do we? Since we bring it up, we think it's the right way to make it extensible. How do we get that into or backlog?
Open an issue for that, and we know we will need an iteration dedicated to localization because we need to integrate this in the menu, in the widget UI, in many things.
And a last question. Is there a way, since you're using ostensibly the same widget and just creating a different translation for it, is there a way to view that widget and based off of the drop-down or the language choice, getting the view of that widget to change in the admin based off that language?
Well, right now, yeah, there is a way, yes, because if you, let me show you if I say, well, I'm not sure it's what you think about it. So I'm the content item, I'm on the English one, and I see other translation. I can click on this directly to go to the French one. So you can switch from one language to the other one available.
Does it change the body text right now?
It will. Look, this is
right now it's the same. That's why I'm asking.
Yes. So this one is the French one. So bonjour. Save. Oh, save. Widget English only. Up. So this is the US one. Hello. Save. So if I go back to it, French. So English, hello. I click on French. Bonjour.
Okay.
And there should be a filter on the list also, because right now you will see 2 widgets.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the new iteration on the iteration work on the widgets and menu, because we need a drop down to filter. Just show me this language or the current one. Same thing for navigation. If you have multiple menu items for different languages, it will show everything, and you need to filter on this, like we do on the content. On the content, I think you can say that. No, we also need it on the content, so we need it everywhere. Right?
Maybe it could be a global, like the drop-down can be on the top of the left-hand menu, or close to the admin logout button somewhere. Just to scope the whole admin to a particular.
Maybe we have to think about that. But if it's global, it means it's a global thing to add to our channel, and I'm not sure we want that. Specifying it to distinct elements, yeah.
What you could do is store the current language in a cookie and use
it's not about
so that's default selection for the different UIs.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, because it's a huge change in our chart, because then you have to tell every module, yes, you need to take the current culture into account. And what if they don't want, or it's not adapted, or
I'm just talking about this content list view, a widgets view, and the navigation view.
Yeah, so I would rather have a new drop-down here for each of those views.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be a problem, but because if a certain module does not take this information into account, it will just continue working as it was before. So only content, the widgets, and admin.
Now I understand what Sitko is saying. Yeah, what he's saying is that you could retain the value.
Exactly. Otherwise, you would have to change the selection.
Yes. So that's, and I'd rather use this thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the same, but just having a way to change this in some visible, place on a screen, global place.
Global, which means that this module is global and is known by the theme itself. And well, if I don't want localization at all, why should I show these things? And I don't know. I'd rather go simple first, and it will be nice for everyone, because today we have the thing.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah, we should simplify it. Okay, but we agree.
Do you prefer this in the discussions or in the issue tracking?
Both. We can talk if we want to talk on discussion and track or have multiple, or maybe one. I don't know if we need one big item talking about everything we mentioned here.
It's up to you. I mean,
because there are also a bunch of modules in the gallery we already said we will need to include, because they're useful for localization. The ones from Gert and the other guy, I don't remember his name. Yeah. So do what you want. I won't forget about it. I do nightmares about this thing.
That's awesome. I'll throw it in as an issue, and you'll do with it as you please.
Thanks. Not for 1.7, so.
No, I get it.
Okay, so yeah. Something else before going to bug triaging? Things. I will kill the one who breaks this value. 5-star rating based on 15 different ratings. And
Release
Ilan
1.7 fast.
Ilan didn't even vote, which means I don't know those guys. I know this guy. I know. That's it. She's using it, but that's it. No traffic. Beautiful. Issue tracker. So it went down. It was 217 last week, and I opened a bunch of them, and still 203. But yeah, we will have to make some choices. So triage. Paused everything. 52. Adding delete and unpublished button, unpublish, I'm assuming adding a delete and publish button inside a page. I found a few places where I needed to go back, like for instance, I think it's on widgets. Let's say I'm on widgets, this one, and I don't want to change anything. I want to go back. Oh, I can do go back. There was another one, I can't remember which one, but you were stuck onto this page, you didn't know what to do to remove, to cancel. So yeah, maybe we need to improve on that. Maybe when we think about the...
It would be nice to have breadcrumbs in the admin UI. I don't know how feasible that would be, but
yeah, again, it depends on every module. So in the media, for instance, you have it. You see, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It depends on every module. Because, for instance, in content, no, there is no organization in content. You don't, unless you have the tree module.
Well, you could say if you go to one of those pages, if you hit edit on project 2, for example, you know, a breadcrumb back to managed content would be ideal, right?
Yep, that's the idea. Yes, cancel. Breadcrumb. Yeah, maybe when we
just need a little bit of UX going on. That's all.
Little.
All right, a lot. We got 15. We got 15 ratings. You don't need a lot.
Content flag token. Okay. I like when you create bugs, Zoltan. I'd rather have you fix them too.
I create them with love.
Fix them with love or hate, I don't care, but fix them too. A null reference exception. Can't you fix that? If is null.
They didn't told me that.
The email colon. I see that as a bug if you can have multiple users with the same email, and I have to check that. I don't see that as an improvement. Yes, I agree, but later. It will be hard for me to add new bugs right now. I will remove bugs from the open one, okay? Because we won't have time. And this is not a bug. I agree, but we don't have time. Same thing. I agree, but it's not. So the idea is that it's not.
Just hang on. We don't have time. I understand. I already fixed it in another instance, but well, if you want to review, then I of course it takes time.
Okay.
But I
Let me
could
see
implement it. Okay, I will send you the code.
So now I need to take the time to see if the proposal is correct. That's different. Okay. So this one is about that task list query can be re-entered by another thread, but it's very not probable. I agreed and I suggested a fix, but next version. And if I go back then, just to look at Sipke's suggestion, values. Oh, there is something we need to do before doing that, Sipke, actually. And I found it recently. The chain can handle custom tokens. I mean, when you say token value, you can say token value colon star, okay? And colon value whatever you want.
Oh.
So
you mean it can't handle dynamic ones?
Yes, there is no predicate to or action to check the current token on chain and then switch to different implementations. There is for token, there is not for chain. And here it will be very useful because you will say values colon, well, values and values chain something. So values colon something will change to text and values without colon will change to something else. So
yeah, it's missing an overload with a lambda. I want to check.
Yeah, I had this issue I think with the workflow trigger URL too. I wanted to do something. Yes, trigger URL to return a URL, so you could then use local or absolute, like the ones assigned to text token. So you can do that right now. And this is more important, I think. And you will be able to use this with your chain here.
Okay, cool.
So I keep it to our chat feature. If you have it, show it to me and I will. So it's open, okay? But
sure, okay.
Some people are fixing things which are not even open. So. I think I've already opened somewhere the chain issue. Says it, title says it, I don't understand. A content item for content type that is not draftable can still be published and published in the content item list.
Yeah, that's true.
And is it a bug?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it should be consistent with what you have in the content item editor, which is that you have a save button. You don't have a publish and publish.
But so it's a save remove then? Delete?
Well, yes.
What?
I mean, it's not very important, but he's right.
Okay, so I open it, I say you're right, but later?
Yeah. It's kind of confusing.
With solution, wow. So body subject recipient plus minus string get state. What is the issue here? Colon was missing?
Looks like that, yeah. It's just a comma.
So it should not compile then?
Yeah, it shouldn't even.
No, he added a new line, so that's why there's a new colon.
Oh, yeah. No, it was actually a new line here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Recipient other. Workflow mail activity error when other email address. I don't know. It doesn't look like bad to me, but it's just passing those state back to the tokens.
Yeah, it was just missing.
Okay, so I can take it. Sort failure for chart queries dealing with different content items. Ooh. That sounds like a bug. Yeah. Okay, I say I close it. So actually the issue was not what he described. The issue was he added 2 or more different sort options. Okay. And you will need your own module to do that. Okay, close. Yeah, I agree with this one, and I think everyone will agree. I think the link always goes to, I don't know, I know there is an issue with that, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, with tenants. If you have tenants, it always goes to the main tenant and not the, I think we should fix this. So this link is always the main tenant, which is bad.
Don't we have a setting that gives you the site name?
You mean we could display it here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your site is pretty lame.
Yes, and you know what? I never do websites, but last time I just placed myself in the head of a user, and okay, you go to your website, like, I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, if you manage 10 sites, I mean, you don't even know where you are.
Yes, and I was not thinking about that. I was thinking about this thing. Like, okay, let's say one stop has made a big website for a nice customer. This customer opens the UI and look at that, and changing the theme, adding some pages, setting up a blog.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't care.
If you must know, they have a module for that. It's actually under gallery.
Okay. Orchard documentation.
It
What
takes
is
care
Orchard?
of that sort of thing, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, someday we'll have to make this customizable. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
your site, we could get rid of that.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Open one and put it in 1.7 directly, and we'll do it.
Okay.
And do it then.
If I have time, I will.
Setting the name of DB colon shouldn't be allowed in alter table.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's the thing we've been talking about 2 weeks ago. It's confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't work.
So I respect you, but I will put it feature version because it's not critical, and I have to filter today. I have to filter today. Okay, don't worry. The 203 open items right now, if that would be half of it. Okay, I will fix this one. Yes, so I open this one because we need it. So right now there is no way to create another main level, root level folder. Also, what needs to be done is being able to define which content type you want to import. So you won't just say import, but you might want to say, import my kind of image. So when there will be an image, it will use your kind of image instead of the default image type.
Also, the import feature, the web search, it seems to be only returning images.
Yes.
And not video. So that's by design.
I tried it, and I spent 1 day to import videos. Then I saw it was not possible because it's pointing to Bing's own video stream URLs.
Oh, okay.
So you can't import anything. You can just point to the Bing's URL.
I see.
So
well, that makes sense.
But what you can do, or anyone interested in doing interesting thing, is there is a bug open with everything we need in this import. We need YouTube, we need Vimeo, or you can just do the OEmbed provider I was suggesting. We need Dropbox or SkyDrive. We need things like that, okay? And it's all documented. I already pointed to it, I think.
Yeah, so the ads.
Let me show you active. So there are people listening to it right now. So let me show you. Update date. And discussions. Media. This one. Here, this post, okay? So what we need, media storage import. So we browse the media storage and we import content items based on that. So what did I say? We need URL. URL is this one. You can drag and drop a URL or copy paste a URL, and it will import the associated content item or media. For instance, I go on vimeo.com. I take a video, this one. Oh, I need to go to the page. Where is the page? This one. Where is the page? I want a video. Search cat. Okay, I go on this page. So the idea is that you have a URL. Okay, this one you can drag and drop or you can copy paste. And when you copy paste into the import, then it will look into the source. Oh, it will look into the source. It doesn't want to show me the source. Yes, and then you will see OEmbed URL. Okay, and this thing contains all the metadata about the content item, and even where to get the HTML to inject it directly into the website. So we need a module for that.
Cool.
Okay. Where was I? So if you need IDs to do things in Orchon, do that, please. Then categories should be clickable. I open it. Media breadcrumb lead to. Okay, fix it. Dashboard should display site name instead. Wow, was quick. Oh, I lost. All opposed. All. Right. Missing workflow detail column in the list of workflows. What is it? Or description maybe?
Description about the workflow.
Yes.
Probably.
So when you display the list, you see what is the workflow about. Yeah, maybe. But there is a name.
And I think we also discussed descriptions. We already have content part descriptions. Maybe this should be part of the content type descriptions. Do we want that?
No. It's not a content type because there is a type with a workflow node. I put it in our future version. I don't disagree, but future. Display in certain condition. Media lib, media editor, no more displays. Yeah, I close it because it's a duplicate. No, I will open it and make it as the feature bug that we need, because we need a media import section explain on this thread. Is there a link? April 22. Submit. The guy who made the feature.
It was you.
Fix your bugs.
No, this threaded comments was entirely Sebastian. So.
Okay, I forgot this point. Okay. I made the threaded comments. Okay. Should have done this, but I did. Okay. Not sure why I'm opening those ones, but so we just need identity parts. So HTML file doesn't work in Firefox. Should check that. Media library.
I haven't come across that yet.
I'm just opening it to look at it, trying to repro. So does it work now? Because the guy said he forgot to enable IS5 actually. So the last one is I've got it work. The site started when I did app server role in the next option. Okay, so I think we can close it.
Actually, that's a good point about .NET Framework 4.5. When are we going to look to upgrade Orchard 1.7 to .NET 4.5?
I don't know.
I mean, I can do it if you want, but I'm sure there's got to be lots of things that we want to change, right?
There is upgrading and upgrading. There is requiring, and today we don't require it. If there is a reason to do so, we could. But yes, I understand. Maybe not now because it will be a short delay, and we might open some issues and
WebSockets.
I understand. Who cares? You have seen a lot, so. I'm not sure. We have to see the issues with that.
Okay.
It's risky, also.
Yeah, should be that.
What version of AutoFac are we on currently?
3.0, latest one.
Yeah, that runs .NET 4. Oh, are we on the very latest one? There's a
Maybe
memory.
Not, yeah.
There's a memory bug in a memory leak bug in one of the versions, which we found at work. So
8 April 3.02, and we can't project to FAC.
I think we are on the latest one, but
0.1. So we need to upgrade.
Okay. Well, luckily it was 3.0.1 fixed the memory issue. So
okay. Well, memory in our chart is quite good. I'm quite satisfied with that.
yeah, well, it would be because it's 3.0.1. There was a memory leak in 3.0.0.
So I will close this one. Yeah, won't fix. Sorry, this is by design. And this is something I don't want to touch. So my suggestion was to add it to the separate tab on the taxonomy one, okay? And later we might want, okay, I had a very good suggestion actually. I'm pretty proud of this one. So let me summarize this issue from Sipke. Is that let's say you have a taxonomy and you have content items attached to it, and you have the same content item attached to different properties of the taxonomy, different terms. You might want, when you display those content items as part of a taxonomy term, to display them in a specific order, but when you display another taxonomy term, to display some other order. Okay, yeah. So his example is a team, and this player can be different teams, but in each team you will need a specific position. And this is just about position, but it could be anything. It could be a color, a number, a mark, whatever you want, which is actually defining attributes on the relationship between a term and a content item. So it's about adding attributes to the relationship itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Currently, this attribute is weight.
Yes. Well, there is not even a weight in the relationship. There is a weight.
No, not in the relationship. Yeah, exactly.
But what you want here is adding an attribute on the relationship. And instead of just saying, okay, we will add a position to this relationship, let's say, no, we can add anything, a part, a field, whatever you want. So to do that, in order to do that, we will have to change the class currently called taxonomy content item record, a term content item record, which is the record making a relationship between a content item and a term. And instead of just having a record, we should make it a content item, or at least a content part record, so that you could customize it and add your properties. But this will not be sufficient. What we will need then is a way to edit the content item. So in the standard editor, you will still have the checkboxes and the radio buttons. But then we could have a link in front of all those items, or we could have it in a separate screen. I'm not sure about that, but it needs some changes. So I don't want to just add a position right now, because it's just half of the issue. It's just a patch.
Sure.
And not only it's a patch, but a patch which will be a pimple to tomorrow, because we will have to live with that, even if we increase the possibilities. So the idea, and I described it here. Yeah, maybe Sipka didn't read this comment.
I did.
Okay, so yeah, I'm sure you can do that.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, we need to talk about how to implement
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
And to do that, we just not only we make it a content item, but we make a content type on the relationship itself. You see, so we can customize the content type, like we do a dynamic content type for the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a dynamic content type for the term, and we will have a dynamic content type for the relationship itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice to have something that is more universal than what was asked for here, but we should still keep in mind that ordering requires drag and drop UI, so it will still need to have its own specific UI just for the ordering.
Mm-hmm. If it's just about ordering, I think ordering is a very specific case.
Yeah, I understand. So you want to build a feature that is more universal than that. That's fine. But you still want to have a specific UI for the ordering itself. You want to special case that at least in the editor.
I will think it's a custom implementation.
Well, then you need to open the door for a custom implementation of the editor.
That's you can add a part to the term itself, and it will be displayed in a tab of the editor.
Right.
So
I understand. Yes. Okay.
That's the idea. Yeah. So feature version, sorry, but yeah.
So are we required right now, based off the future version, to do our own custom fix, or should we wait for your future version, which...
I am waiting for your future version.
Yeah, I think in this case, as in many other cases, when something is marked for future version, either you are ready to wait for it to happen whenever that is, or you want it now and you implement it.
And as I wrote, and before you do anything stupid, let's review the implication and how to implement it.
So don't do anything
we only like to do things that are stupid, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I often get up in the morning and tell myself, how about doing something stupid today?
That's right.
And usually I do it.
And then you know what I do? I try and ping Sebastian.
Me too.
Wow, that's pretty universal. That being said, what do you think the level of effort is on something like that? Because if you were requiring for, potentially us to provide this universal application, what if it were you doing this, and obviously you would not do it stupidly.
Oh, maybe I would. Look, I was about to do it when I thought about the clever ID. So I think it's just about converting the record to a content item. It should not be so hard, actually. There are some implications on the import-export. There are some implications in terms of querying. Might be it won't even be more complex to query things or performance-wise because you might not have to use all the parts in. So no, it should not be so hard, and I think Sipka is able to do it.
Yes, the thing is, what I'm thinking about is actually making it available as part of 1.7, since there's already so much work. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Since there's already so much work in integrating taxonomies, and this is part and parcel with it, rather than doing it later.
At this point, it makes the risk of 1.7 higher.
Understood. So why don't we do this? Let me reference this with Sipka, see what the level of effort is, submit it as a patch. You guys decide whether there is or is no risk. I mean, there's always risk, but whether it can be, it's worthwhile.
Okay, but limit the scope. Don't add too many things because those many things
the main one for us is the sorting by in this case weight, but then we'll try and leave it open so that you can expand on it, or we can do a minimal.
And there
effort
won't
about
even be a weight property in the patch, I will see, because it will just be about adding parts, done. And your usage will be about adding a field named weight, and maybe an editor to drag and drop. But there can't be something called position or weight.
We can actually decouple it pretty much from taxonomies by implementing a position part or something like that.
And
then the editor takes a collection of
Exactly.
items that might come from taxonomies or might come from something else. But that works in all those cases. And then we add that part to the
exactly.
to the
Okay,
taxonomy
so look-
relationship content item when it exists.
And you can reuse it, yeah.
So I'm not that bright, clearly, so some of this went over my head, and you'll have to talk very slowly, but not necessarily in this meeting. And we could go back through this, Bertrand and Sipka and myself.
Yeah, Sipka got it, I'm sure.
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, no.
No, you
We have
see?
to talk about it.
They removed it part of his brain, so I'm not sure what's left.
It's a great excuse. Well, I kind of get it. I just want to know the details. I want to talk about the details. We'll get there.
One last point, if I may, which I know I'm jumping the line here, but it's similar in terms of contribution. Part and parcel with the media, the new media management tool. You and I had an offline discussion about, us providing what we've done with videos.
You want to see it?
Yes.
Still want to see it?
I know. So I'm using this form because I'm very busy with a lot of other stuff, as are you, to say that Bertrand had done the refactoring of what Zoltan had originally done. Bertrand, we should definitely provide what we've done on videos to Sebastian and see if we can provide that out of the box with 1.7 for people who have use for it, so that it comes packaged with some cool stuff already.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not sure the implementation would be very well adapted to that, but yeah, it might save some time. But I'm sure the implementation will have to be bent quite a lot.
Okay,
We'll see.
We're willing to bend because it's advantageous for everyone, including the community.
Yeah, it was based on the old media picker, so it will require heavy changes.
Suggest to stop the meeting now.
Yeah.
Issue tracker proposed 26. Okay, good. Open for 1.7 only. What? No, active. Oh, active. Open is also what is different? Not closed. 300. Have to check that. Active 221. Right, it's okay. I will do some cleanup this week.
Yeah,
we can fix everything.
It's not the same thing as closed, so maybe you want to make a bulk update on resolved ones and make them all closed to reduce that confusion.
Okay.
So how many proposed do we have left?
26.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. And we will talk again next week. Have a nice week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.